is Russ Fitzpatrick. I am one of the founders of a program called Annie Mac Works nationally. You have the opportunity to join as an agent on the Annie Mac Nation, which is a private group on Facebook. If you're a broker owner out in the country, you can join our national flagship brokers group on Facebook. And always think about getting connected with us through Facebook, Twitter, and through our text message network on AnnieMacWorks.com. Really proud of the national movement that we call our Worksaholic Army. Realtors from all over the country are starting to use these free services. And today, I want to bring your attention to a really interesting term called domestic migration. You might need to jot this down because the Forbes publishing organization, Forbes magazine, produces a interactive map. It's called the Domestic Migration Map. You can find it on Google by typing in the words domestic migration or Forbes domestic migration. It'll be the very, very first thing that comes up on Google under Forbes domestic migration. I have used this Forbes domestic migration to obtain thousands of listings. I believe that changing the texture of the conversation when you're in the living room to get it away from localized open houses and get it away from what ads are you going to be running for me and take a positive professional control of the conversation, you need to change the texture of the conversation. And let me say this. I know I have a lot of experienced, productive realtors online today. Let me say, if I could, it matters that you talk in a different vocabulary than the other realtors that the seller is talking to. I think it matters that you say different things than what all the other realtors are saying. Do you know what I mean by that? So that when you leave your presentation, that your seller's right eyebrow is up and saying, man, I didn't think of that. That's the realtor I want. Imagine that feeling. You walk into a $700,000 listing in Collier County, Naples, and you start to show the seller how your company looks at the real estate industry differently than other real estate companies. Let's face it, today, a seller is very, very conscious, if not hyper sensitive, to the technology side of our business. And if you don't differentiate yourselves by using Google, Twitter, Facebook, Zillow, Trulia, and Realtor.com, you can be literally left in the dust and walk out of a listing presentation saying, man, I thought I had that. I had a great rapport with that seller, but they ended up listing with someone else. Well, I think the someone else is usually a person who leverages technology in 2015. So today we're going to spend a little bit of time on what we call the technology-driven listing presentation, and we're going to share with you what I think are some fundamentals of not only differentiating yourself, but really creating a structure that you can follow when you're going to a listing presentation. And I want to take just a moment, kind of a sidestep here, and acknowledge those real estate agents who are online that have great success on their listing presentations without any of this. There are people online right now, I can see the names, I can see the areas of the country that they work in, that are saying things like, well, I don't need to do any of this stuff because I get almost all the listings I go on. Well, that's kind of true if you never list more than about 6, 10, 12, 15 properties a year. And I mean that with the utmost sincerity. If you're ever going to become a high volume listing agent, if you're ever going to manage 30, 40, 50, 60 listings at a time, you're going to have to venture out of your comfort zone. You're going to have to venture out of your sphere of influence. You're going to have to venture out of your past customers. See, your sister's brother's cousin's friend is going to list your house with you because you were referred by your sister's cousin's brother. But the for sale bond or the expired, the list pendants, the farming clients that have no personal referral to you are how you can grow your listing in inventory exponentially. So when you're going on an expired listing who's interviewing 3 agents, when you're going on a for sale owner who's getting touched by 4, 5, 6 agents per week, when you're going on a list pendants that's in a desperate situation and needs to hire a listing agent to help them with their short sale, when you're going on a farming client that's never met you before but has seen some of your marketing, he or she, the seller, wants to know, what are you going to do to earn this $21,500 that I'm going to pay you? And their perception is they're paying you the whole 6%, right? So what are you going to do to earn your, $53,000 that I'm paying you? Well, when you go out and you start to amass a large listing inventory, we think it's best to follow a sales standard or a step-by-step formula that's quantified as being effective. So we like to call that our 6-step sales standard. We're going to get really, really basic for a few moments, and then we're going to get into the technology side. The pre-client interview, I think, is infinitely more valuable than what most real estate agents give it credit for. Having a high quality pre-appointment drop-off really does a lot of your job for you because it enunciates your credibility and professionalism in the marketplace. The way that you prepare for the presentation, what you bring to the presentation, and how much knowledge that you carry into that initial meeting is an absolute in residential real estate. I loved Floyd Wickman. He used to call it his safe island. Now he refers to his POCA technique, preview of coming attractions. But I've been on many, many more than 4,000 listing presentations in my life, and I've never started any of them without a consumer engagement safe island, some sort of a conversation that starts to take positive professional control of the listing presentation. Where we're going to focus most of our energy on today is the technology side of the listing presentation. And then finally, closing on pricing and professional services. I did a presentation a few months ago, and one of my good buddies in the mid-Atlantic states sent me an email afterwards, and he said, yeah, it's easy for you to do that presentation because you're so rehearsed at it. He was making like a tongue-in-cheek remark that, I have a polished presentation when it comes to my pricing and professional services, that I took the time to rehearse and quantify what works best when I'm doing a technology-driven marketing presentation. And he says, you come off, all slick when you do it because you're rehearsed. And I said, back to him, I said, wouldn't it pay for you to rehearse too? Don't you think it would pay dividends for you to know what you're going to say, and maybe more importantly, when you're going to say it? My role model and mentor, Floyd Wickman, says it's just as important how you say something as it is what you say. And I'd like to add to it, the when you say it could be even more valuable, because if you're talking about commissions and price at the onset of your listing presentation, you are absolutely dead in the water. I can tell you, even if you're the best salesperson in the world, if you start your conversations on price and commission, you are selling yourself short. Do you believe that? Do you think that in your local market? The seller wants to know what's the price and what's your commission. And if you start out by giving them that information first, you lose all of your positive professional control. So we use this 6-step sales standard, this formula that has been proven for 29 years, 540 directly managed realtors, close to 4,000 or 5,000 listing presentations, to quantify that we'd like to keep it in an orderly fashion. 2 all beef patties, special sauce, lettuce, cheese on a sesame seed bun, formula that works the same every single time. And just before we go on from here, just to enunciate how passionate I feel about this particular subject, we coined a definition of the word sales back in the day, and you may want to jot it down. To me, sales is one of the highest paid professions that are available in any industry, whether it's life insurance or real estate or anything that needs to be sold with a passion and conviction to influence decision making needs a salesman or a salesperson to do it. So if you walk into a listing presentation and they're already ready to list with you, that's not sales. That's called a clerk. That means all I have to do is go there and take the listing. That's because my sister's brother's cousin's friend did all the selling for me. But if I'm going on an expired listing, if I'm going on a buy owner, if I'm going on a farming contact that I've never met before, if I'm going on a list pendants from a list pendants notification because they need short sale help, or goodness gracious, my sphere of influence or my past customers sent me a referral, but they didn't really engage the referral client in the way that it took to convince them that I'm the one. I need to do the selling. Well, I like the definition. Sales, to me, is an organized presentation. An organized presentation of compelling arguments. An organized presentation of compelling arguments that influences decision making. So you're actually being paid to change someone's mind. An organized presentation of compelling arguments to influence decision-making means that you're being paid to change someone's mind. I was thinking I was going to list with Century 21, but goodness gracious, now I want to list with this person. I was thinking I was going to go for sale by owner, but goodness gracious, now I want to list with this person. I was thinking I was going to take my house off the market for 3 or 4 months, but goodness gracious, I've got to list with this guy. He's made some really, really good points. So when you use a 6-step sales standard, a step-by-step process for selling, you're able to organize your thoughts, you're able to organize your convictions in a passionate way that influences decision making. So we're going to start with the rudimentary pre-client interview as the first step. We're going to say, "Good morning, Mrs. Smith. This is Russ Fitzpatrick calling from XYZ Real Estate. How you doing today?" "Great. I'm doing some preparation for our appointment tomorrow evening, and I was wondering if you had a few minutes to help me with some of the details. This will ensure that my data is accurate. Do you have time?" "Well, thank you so much. I typically do a couple of hours worth of research before I come over so that I can make sure I get the highest possible price. Your input's going to really help me do that. Is that okay?" "Yes." "Good. What's the age of your roof on that house in Indigo Lakes?" "Okay, so it's original. It's 11 years old." "Okay, great. Got a lot of useful life left on that roof. How about the air conditioning systems? Do you have 1 or 2 zones? Do you have 2 air conditioning systems in total? And what are the age of those air conditioning systems?" Remember, I'm trying to justify the highest possible price. In comparison to the rest of the neighborhood in Indigo Lakes, would you say that your flooring is average with the rest of the homes, above average, or below average? What you'll find is in the pre-client interview, the seller will start to talk. And when that seller starts to talk and open up about his vulnerabilities, you know you've got a great rapport building. So, a distant seller who's defensive might be a for sale owner. He might say, "My flooring's the best. My kitchen's the best. This is the best house." Meanwhile, he knows his roof is 26 years old. He knows his cabinets haven't been updated in the last 20 years, and he knows that he's that vulnerable, but he's also overpriced. But when you see that vulnerability open up and they say to you, "Well, you know what? A lot of our neighbors have, Saturnia marble or, XYZ flooring, and we really went with the ceramic tile. It's about, I would say, average, or maybe even a little below average." That's a vulnerability now they're opening up to you. How about your kitchen cabinetry and countertops? "Oh, we love our kitchen. We did all 42-inch cabinets. We've got, self-closing doors. We've got self-closing drawers. We've got granite with a sunken sink. It's beautiful." Now you know that they're excited and they're talking. How about your bathrooms and your master bathroom in particular? We just say, again, compared to the rest of the homes in your neighborhood, do you feel like it's average, above average or below average? And is there anything else I should know about your lot? I can see online here that you've got water, but I can't quite tell from without being at the house. Is there something really special about your water lot? Is it an oversized lot? Does it have a very particular view? Is there anything I can know about your house while I'm trying to justify the highest possible price? Now, this is a little bit of a caricature, but the pre-client interview continues. It says, well, Ms. Smith, I really appreciate all that information about the house and the property. I'm looking forward to spending some time with you tomorrow night, making sure that your husband's going to be home as well. Yeah. Having talked to your husband, is there anything that's particularly important that I can make sure I can prepare for you? Like, is there anything that you're really concerned about that you want to make sure I cover tomorrow night? What do you feel the most important thing we can accomplish tomorrow night is? Okay. When we successfully sell your home, do you already know where you're going to be moving to? Now, I can never understand how a residential real estate professional could go on a listing presentation without knowing the answer to that question. It's almost like they're too anxious to get in the listing presentation to be properly prepared for the listing presentation. So when you slow down and you take positive professional control of the situation, you say things like, well, when we successfully sell your home, do you already know where you're going to be moving to? Would you be planning on buying a home right away, or do you think you might rent for a year? Now, if you already know those things, you don't need to ask them, but if you don't know those things and you don't ask them, I think you're being an incomplete residential real estate professional. Finally, in a perfect world, when would you like to make that move? Are you thinking June, July, August while the kids are out of school? Are you thinking about waiting till the fall just before the holidays? What would you consider to be perfect in the timing of this move? Well, I think you're allowing enough time to make everything very convenient. I'll bet you we can make this very stress-free process. I'm looking forward to meeting you tomorrow night. So whether you love my pre-client interview or you want to make your own, I think there's something important that distinguishes you as a professional when you contact them ahead of time for that pre-client interview. Now, I made it mandatory for all my realtors, and we were managing 540 realtors out of 3 different offices at the height of this thing. We would say, hey, we want to see that you sent out a pre-appointment email at the very, very minimum. And the most professional listing agents would actually drop off a binder ahead of time to the seller that would serve as their credibility tool. Chip Isabella covers that at length in our Bulletproof Listing presentation. It's a free archive available on AnnieMac Works in the on-demand library. But if you're going to take the easy way out and you just want to send them an email, that's fine too. But I really like the drop-off. I really like to hand them a leather-bound binder with a brass nameplate on it, and inside is all the pertinent information about myself and my company and a little taste of how we market properties in the local marketplace. We always ended our binder on a few letters of testimonial that were in the last few pages, so that if the seller did take the time to thumb through that binder before the listing presentation, they could see just a catalyst for professionalism and credibility. Just wanted to change their mind about who they thought we were as a company. But at the very bare minimum, we got to send Mrs. Smith an email, and it's going to say, our entire organization is looking forward to serving you towards the successful sale of your home in Indigo Lakes. As we plan for our visit tomorrow evening, we hope you'll have time to review the attached sample. Now, what we put in there is a single property website domain name for the seller to click on. This online initiative demonstrated is simply one of the many differentiators that have accelerated our real estate office's success rate in selling homes just like yours. I'm looking forward to showing you how our technology-driven platform aggressively markets your property towards the highest possible price. Now, could I have just gotten into Google and Facebook and Twitter with you guys, or did it matter? Did it matter that we set up the seller for a higher expectation, that we did a pre-client interview, that we talked to them about what was important to them and their time frame and where they're moving to. And finally, that when I send them this pre-appointment drop-off, they open it up. And again, maybe 1 in 3 opens it, maybe 1 in 5 opens it, but I can reference this when I get to the presentation. Now look at this home in Indigo Lakes. If you were on this live link, and I invite you to do that, it has a map. It has a gallery of photos. It has a video with music overlays. It has a spot where you can request showings. It has all the school's information. It has some financing rules of thumb and a place to get pre-qualified. It has a printable flyer, and it has a home report. It also has my information as a residential real estate professional and the link to my website. But it has all the information in one place, unlike the average realtor who puts 2 pictures and a little prompt on their Facebook. This has all the information in one place. And believe you me, when that seller clicks on this and sees the rolling video and the beautiful photographs and understands how professional you are as a real estate agent, you can even show them your printed brochures and how the QR code and the text message works. See, we have a program called Smart Lead Capture, and that allows us to use a Smart Lead Capture text code so that if anybody ever requests more information, either by click-through, by QR code, or by text, they're going to receive that more information. Well, believe me, when you send this information out to a seller, and that seller is sniffing around you to see if you're a credible realtor, they may very well click on your QR code. They may very well text to the autoresponder to see what comes back to them. And if you can get a seller engaged at that level by opening up this link and looking at your single property websites prior to your listing presentation, and if you can get them to take a look at your QR codes and your text lead capture, you're differentiating yourself as a residential real estate professional. When I finally get to their house, I may say something like this. Hey Rhonda, it's really important for me to show you why our real estate company excels in capturing more buyers than any other real estate company here in Naples. If we have 133 different signs out in the marketplace, and all of those signs have text lead capture and QR codes on them, what we found is that we can capture the lion's share of leads that are driving around here in the Naples marketplace. Now, a lot of these communities are gated, so I also want to show you how we leverage the World Wide Web. But when it comes to market domination and market share here in the Naples marketplace, could you imagine with me that you and I are out doing our business. You're out to dinner and I'm at my daughter's soccer game. And a client, prospective buyer, drives by your home and sees this text for more information sign writer. When they text this code to 54561, they're going to receive that single property website that I just showed you. When they get it, they're certainly impressed, and they can see all the information about your home in one spot. Okay? Now that comes to their smartphone. So within a moment of driving by your house, they have all of the information about your home, including price, square footage, schools, financing information. And unlike most of our competitors in the local market, we actually capture their lead information right there when they do that. Because they clicked, we get their cell phone number, and we get to find out where they're calling from. So even though I'm at the soccer game with my daughter, and even though you're out to dinner, we've now captured another buyer lead for that property. Unlike other real estate companies where they call and then they hang up and there's no capture. The other thing that we can do is we can post this information onto Facebook so that more and more buyers see your house on the map, and by QR codes we can capture those leads. But we know that technology has changed so much in the last 5 to 10 years, and our company needs to be front and center, not only in Google, because Google AdWords searches are probably the forefront of our industry right now, but also leveraging Zillow, Trulia, Facebook, and Realtor.com. So I want to show you, when a client clicks on our Google ad, they're going to receive a full description of the property with a virtual tour, videos, a photo gallery, maps to the home, financing information, and print flyer information. If you were a buyer and you were surfing through Zillow and you clicked and it said, for more information, click here, and when you clicked, you had to wait for a realtor's callback, wouldn't that be frustrating in 2015? What about if you were on Realtor.com and you could see most of the information, but you didn't have a way to gain contact with the agent? But here, not only can you gain all of the information about schools, financing, mapping, and everything, but you can also, once you've clicked on that, the realtor can certainly contact you via email, the realtor can contact you by cell phone, or even via text message. Because look what we receive when a buyer clicks on Zillow. Look what we receive when a buyer clicks on Trulia. I'm talking worldwide. If a buyer from Italy is looking for a property in Naples and they're on Realtor.com, this is what we receive. A visitor has visited your property website at this address. Here's their address. Here's their cell phone number, and here's their email address. Please send me more information regarding this property. This program we refer to as smart lead capture, and it is the way that our real estate company has taken control of the internet lead system. Facebook, Twitter, Zillow, Trulia, Realtor.com, and Google. One thing we realized about this particular real estate market, and I don't care if you're from Phoenix, I don't care if you're from Texas, I don't care if you're from mid-Atlantic states. When you go to Forbes domestic migration map, you have a series of blue counties that show the inbound migration of families from those counties. And you also have the red, which is the outbound migration of people moving out of Naples or Phoenix or Scottsdale or, Bowie, Maryland. If you bring this up to a seller and you say, I've been selling residential real estate in Naples since 1986, and I can tell you from 86 to 2000, more than 75% of our buyer inquiries came from signage and local advertising. Today, it's completely reversed. More than 75% of our buyer inquiries come from the World Wide Web, click advertising through Google, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn. Do you know that in the new world order in residential real estate, I can actually monitor conversations that are happening on Twitter? So I can put a conversation monitor in place that eavesdrops on 3.5 million conversations per minute. And if any of those conversations say the words moving to Naples, job transfer to Naples, retiring to Naples, buying a vacation home in Naples, I'm notified. Do you think the average residential real estate agent even knows that that technology exists? This is a whole new world order in residential real estate. In Facebook, I can laser-like shop for buyers directly from the counties that are most likely to move to Naples, Florida. So what I can do in my office, unlike my old office that I worked for didn't have this technology, promise you, and that's why I work here now. But what I can do now is I can go all over the New England states. I can go all throughout the counties of New York that move to Naples most frequently. I can go all through British Columbia, Toronto, Ontario, all through the areas of the country, Michigan, Detroit, that are most likely to buy a home in Collier County. And then I can send them, just in those counties, advertisements about warm climates advertisements about homes in the Naples, Collier County area. Imagine if you're in Toronto and Quebec in January and February of 2015, Boston's worst winter in 20 years, New York's deepest 3-year winter run that they've had in the last 2 decades, and you're seeing ads for these Naples homes. Can you see why our real estate company is on the cutting edge of residential real estate marketing? Finally, if somebody types in the word Naples homes for sale, Indigo Lakes homes for sales, we're always coming up on the top. And if you don't know how to do that, then you haven't taken the time to examine Google AdWords, because you don't have to have 2 years of search engine optimization to make it to the top of a Google AdWords search. You can spend $6 a click and jump to the top of a page. You could spend, in a big city, you might have to spend $9 or $10 per click. But imagine if you were paying $10 a click to be the first ad that came up on the AdWords search Naples homes for sale. How many clicks would you have to obtain before you sold a house? If you had a good landing page that was a good search page, like a conversion page or a Boomtown Leads page or a Tiger Leads page or a market leader page or Realty Generators, what used to be called. If you had a page like Selectrified sitting there when they got to your Google AdWords page, I can promise you, you're about 8 clicks for every qualified buyer. Now, once you understand that mathematics, we used to build our Google AdWords platform on 20 clicks per sale. So if I had to pay $10 per click, and I would need 20 clicks to sell a home, well, I would need to aggregate out that cost to see how many times did I pay for 20 clicks to get a home sale. Does that make sense for my company? Now, if I have to hand that lead to an incompetent real estate agent to take that lead out, it might take me 30, 40, 50 clicks to get a sale. Even then, as a broker owner, you might be okay. But this is what I want to stop on, and I don't know if I'm doing it justice, but let me say this. When I walk into your home in Naples, and I've done a brief version of conversation monitors, I've done a brief version of Facebook target advertising, and then I turn to Google on your computer and I tell you to type in the word Naples homes for sale, and our search is the first one that comes up. Now, of course, Realtor.com and Trulia and Zillow are going to show up, but those are not real estate companies in Naples, are they? When I pay for that click, even if it was $12 for the click, and I'm in the seller's home, it says, and I say to you, type in the word Indigo Lakes. Type in the word Indigo Lakes homes for sale. Type in the word Naples homes for sale with pools. Type in the words Collier County real estate. All of these terms our company owns, because we know that we could put a 10,000 square foot office on Main Street and we wouldn't get nearly as much traffic as we get from the World Wide Web. And I know this stuff is matter of fact to you guys in residential real estate, but it's not matter of fact to your sellers. So you need to have an organized presentation of compelling arguments to influence their decision making, and it needs to focus on technology. Now I'm going to tell you a secret. Any seller can buy AdWords. Any real estate company can buy AdWords. But I really like to use Realtor.com as the closing technology for one reason. It requires them to list their house with a realtor to get on it. So I say something like this: Rhonda, in the last 29 years, a lot of things have changed about our marketplace. Local walk-in traffic has went down. Sign calls have gone down. So if you put a sign up in your yard, you're going to get far fewer calls on that sign because most of the families are shopping on the web now. But one thing that hasn't changed over the last 20 years is that Realtor.com remains the highest traveled website in the world for residential real estate searches. More than 6.6 million users per month go to Realtor.com. And 30-40% higher than even the second place search. So what we can do on Realtor.com for you is have all that same information and click-through technology that we just talked about. But we can also monitor the number of clicks that we receive per week versus the number of showing requests that we receive. Why this is so important for us is we like to monitor the traffic versus the showings versus the offers. This is important data for your particular property, because imagine if we were having 1,200 clicks a week but no showings. Well, that would be telling us something, wouldn't it? It would be telling us that the traffic is driving to the listing, but when they get there, they're not seeing the value relative to price. So they're moving on to another property to come see. Whereas when a house is priced very, very right for the marketplace, you'll see a showing for about every 200 to 300 clicks. What an exciting place to be. We're driving 200 to 300 clicks to your property, and every time we do, a showing happens. So now 1,200 clicks a week is equaling 6 showings a week. That's when you know you're in the sweet spot in our marketplace, that buyers are not only we're driving traffic to the listing, but we're also converting that traffic to legitimate showings. And then obviously, if we're having 4, 5, 6 showings a week, and we're doing that week after week, and we're not getting any offers, then potentially what we're discovering is that the buyers are seeing the property and then using it to justify the purchase of another one. What that means is they go out and they see 6 homes, they see your home at $749.9, and they justify buying the one down the street at $699 because they saw your house, they saw that one, and they are able, through comparison, to justify buying the one for $699.9. So we're either getting lots of traffic and no showings, we're getting lots of showings and no offers, or we're getting lots of traffic, lots of showings, and lots of offers. And that's all an indication of the perception of value relative to price. And Realtor.com is the only mechanism that helps us do that. Realtor.com is the one that we use for data, nationwide, World Wide Web data, to understand how the market is perceiving your property. Now, a lot of real estate agents use local showings as the main indicator, and we just think that that's an obsolete technology. Last but not least, after the technology portion of the conversation, I would always take a few minutes and review the professional broker's price opinion. If in your market you call that a CMA, I understand that there's some laws against professional broker price opinions or appraisal terminology being used in certain states. Demonstrate your brokerage commission structure and don't be shy about it. One of the best things that you can learn as a realtor is that top listing agents worldwide never apologize for their commissions. This is a marketing decision, and if you're going to reduce the commission on the buyer's side of the real estate commission, you're going to reduce the number of buyer inquiries that you get. This is a marketing decision, and if you're going to reduce the compensation to the listing company, you're going to always sacrifice in the amount of marketing you get. So we stand for a 3% offering to our office and a 3% offering to the worldwide real estate community. To enhance professional services and your own repertoire, utilize a seller's estimated net proceeds. This has become something that a lot of agents don't do anymore. And I can tell you that this has been the most pivotal part of the listing presentation for the lion's share of listings I've been on in my life. When I break down the doc stamps, the intangible taxes, the costs associated with the move, and show them their net proceeds, we immediately take those net proceeds and apply them theoretically to the purchase of a new property. So we say, do you see how you're going to net $158,000 from the sale of this home if we achieve $749.9? Well, let's show you what that $148,000 does in Wellington, where you're moving to. Let's show you that $148,000 down payment when you get to Franklin, North Carolina, or Clayton, Georgia, or Scottsdale, Arizona. Let's show you. And by pulling destination properties and pulling up the values of the houses, sometimes you can really tenderize a seller by saying, look what that 148 does when you get out to Utah. You can buy a $600,000 house in Utah with $120,000 down. Your payment's going to be $2,600 a month or $2,800 a month. What an amazing conversation that is, because of the affordability of interest rates today, to transition the seller's estimated net proceeds to the conversation about affordability of the home they're moving to. If you want to get better at your CMA, your BPO, and your estimated net proceeds, go to AnnieMacWorks.com and visit the on-demand library. Look for topics like the essence of a CMA. That's one of our best classes. Unique selling propositions is a great way to differentiate yourself to sellers in the listing marketplace. And finally, one of the classes that we're most proud of is called our Bulletproof Listing Presentation, because it really takes this and characterizes or creates a caricature of all the different features, advantages, and benefits. And really, you're going to pick which features, advantages, and benefits you're going to stand up and hoot about based on your own passion and conviction. But we like to lay it out in a formal way so that you can decide as a realtor which features, advantages, and benefits you're going to stand for as a realtor. So the 6-step sales standard pre-client interview, I think, is entirely required. If you worked for me as a realtor, I would require of you to do a pre-appointment drop-off, not just the email. The standard preparation is spelled out in the Customer First class. I didn't have time to get into preparation today. Consumer Engagement Safe Island is all about setting the appointment up. And again, you can learn more about that during the Bulletproof Listing Presentation class. I hope we did some justice to the technology-driven market side and what you should be focusing on with the domestic migration map, with Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, with smart lead capture, how you can really leverage QR codes and text to lead capture systems in your presentations, and finally, a brief review of pricing and professional services. If you want more information about these features that are available to you free by Annie Mac Home Mortgage, simply go to myworkssuite.com. There is a full tutorial and more information on every one of the features that we touched on here. We couldn't possibly do them all justice in a short conversation, but website sample, PDF flyer sample, domain writers, mobile websites, video builders, the Facebook app that we touched on here, even email marketing and smart lead capture are all spelled out for you on myworksuite.com. One last big thank you to Annie Mac Home Mortgage, the Annie Mac Nation, and the growing Worksaholic Army. We've got literally thousands upon thousands of realtors now using the MyWork Suite technology and Annie Mac Works. So good luck to you in the marketplace. We hope that you'll take the technology-driven presentation into these living rooms that you're getting an opportunity in, especially right now. This is the time in your real estate career that you need to list to last. You need to put a lot of signs up in your local marketplace if you want to have a great year of productivity. Thanks again for being on.